Hi everyone, this is Proteus Astrology from proteusastrology.co.uk, and this is about Venus retrograde in Gemini in 2020. This is a phase that's just coming up. Well, we're already in it in a sense, but the retrograde doesn't start until May 14th. So I've posted a blog about this, so you can read about it there, but I thought it would be interesting to do a video as well. I'm not completely sure that the videos work this way. I'm still getting used to the techniques, but gradually I think maybe I will be doing more videos to accompany the blog posts. They tend to be long for a good reason, is that I like to cover a lot of different themes, so do be patient. I don't like to just be superficial about the topic, so you'll get quite a few references to either art or literature all thrown in. That's my style. So I hope you enjoy that. And basically, Venus is about our social connections, so this is hugely important. I also think with Venus in Gemini, it might relate to the Internet of Things, the connection between the things we have externally and the technology that we live in now. So it's very, very relevant at this time. So one very good way to start thinking about Venus is to consider the signs that she rules. I know a lot of astrologers place a lot of emphasis on this, that rulership is the all-important emphasis. And it's no different with Venus. So she rules two different signs. So there are some similarities, but also some significant differences. So in Taurus, symbolized by the bull, she loves to stay in one place in the field, chewing grass, having simple pleasures. But in Libra, which is not an animal or human glyph, as you can see there, it's very different. She's more about aesthetics, perhaps preening in the mirror, about color coordination, and reflecting others. This image here is a set of stones in the sand, which I made. I did a whole series of planetary glyphs in the sand one day when I got very creative with the stones. So I think this connects to the Taurian side because it's very close to Earth and keeps it down to Earth. What's really great at the moment, I don't know if anyone has noticed, but that Venus is visible in the western sky. So in the evening, you're very likely to be able to see a very, very bright planet if you look west. And the other thing that's interesting is that at the moment of recording, Venus and the Moon are conjunct, so you can see them both together, which is really nice. Venus and the Moon would be like mother and daughter, the mother and daughter archetypes getting together, creating lots of harmony, empathy, and fun times, but also very, very sensitive. So take a look out of your windows or go out there and see if you can see Venus. Traditionally, one of the names of Venus was Phosphorus, which meant the sparkling one, which I love because it links to the idea that she's all about bling. What we have here is one of the most famous paintings, The Birth of Venus. I think everybody is more familiar with the Botticelli, but this is the one by Giorgio Vasari. And this is only half of it. Actually, it extends right across the sea. But what we can see here is the birth of Venus on the shell. And over on the left, I think there's Thetis, who is a sea nymph goddess. And there is Poseidon swimming around at the bottom, with surrounded by lots of Nereids and Tritons. So it's an amazing scene, typical of Venus, showing her beauty, and like it's a revelation that this when this goddess was born. So astrologers say Venus is about love and pleasure and emotional connections, but it's not always about the romantic kind of love. It can have more to do with personal values, as anyone who who's got Venus in Capricorn would know that that is more about status and respectability and working in discreet ways, completely to contrast Venus in Leo, for example, which would be much more dramatic. But other styles of how Venus manifests would be in shopping, entertainment, the arts, theatre, and so forth. Just to establish what Venus is about, there's love, beauty, seduction, attraction, desire, pleasure, and values, aesthetics, art, um, society, all kinds of things that make life livable. So this is a very rich, very powerful, and very well established area for Venus to be in control of. And I think everybody can appreciate the power of Venus in their lives. So what makes this transit striking is that Venus is going to be in Gemini for a very long time, almost 4 months. And Gemini is an air sign, so that's not necessarily the most obvious sign for Venus, but she can express herself in any sign. So Gemini is ruled by Mercury, here shown in a painting by Mantegna with Pegasus, the horse, the winged horse. And Mercury is traditionally seen as the communicator. He's very quick, he's light, dexterous, and he's the total information junkie. So we're already in this phase when Venus, the goddess of love, is in the house of Mercury, of Gemini. And what I can see is already a lot more webinars, a lot more education has gone online, the chat rooms are full. Um, that might increase the people who are very clever and witty, who manage to communicate online better than others. They may come to the fore. I also see a lot of increased shopping. I'm sure this will continue. However, during the retrograde phase, we might expect delays in the goods being delivered. So we might have to be more discerning about what we buy, more selective. I think all of this will be going on, but on the other hand, it might increase the desire to do more writing, even to write poetry and songs, to make the words pleasurable or nice, to give them a lovely, beautiful coating. This retrograde phase will be interesting, no doubt about it. If anyone feels fully the actions of Venus, they are inescapable. They know how important it is. It's had a big impact in my life, and I know for a fact that it has in others. Those born with Venus retrograde also tend to know that love doesn't always come easily, but will be better for wiser choices. This period extends from May 14th to June 26th. That's 6 weeks. It goes past the solstice, which is accompanied by an eclipse. Then Venus once again goes direct, having finished up her business in Gemini, but she doesn't go into Cancer until August. I think it's crucial to know in your own chart which house Venus is in to see how this might impact your life. Otherwise, advice can seem very generalized. You need not only to know where Venus is located, but also where the sign of Gemini is. These are two very different pieces of the puzzle and worth finding out. So as we can see in this diagram, Venus goes backwards, traversing over all that you value in your relationships in those areas. She goes backwards from 25 degrees to 5 degrees. So anyone who has Venus at that position, it will be particularly personal and relevant for you, perhaps giving you an intense drilling over with the Venus return boosted by the retrograde action. Anyone else who has Venus, for example, in the third house might find it's fairly normal because they already have those two areas very interlinked, very intellectualized kind of approach to Venus things. So once you know where your Venus is, you can make sense of this chart. I've tried to make it easier because we're all at home now and you'll have plenty of time to review all these things. So you could come back to this chart and look it up again or read about it on the blog post. So for example, if Venus is in your first house, it would apply to your physical appearance. You might just want to refresh your style, but with Venus retrograde, avoid any drastic changes. If it's in the second house, you want to check your budget, maybe does your income and outgoing all match up? If Venus is in the third house, you might be thinking of short courses to do, which ones to take, which ones best suit you. If it's in the fourth house, you might be reviewing your notions of self. For example, who's the chief nurturer in the family? Is that you or someone else? If Venus is in the fifth house, it might kickstart your creative projects, the ones that you left behind. But also it's time to review which story do you tell yourself about your creative urges. If Venus is in the sixth house, now the workplace has shifted to the home. So, but still, you might want to just do some health checks and reboots to your immune system, just to check in. If Venus is in the seventh house, one of the most important areas because it rules relationships, it's time to review how your act of mirroring with close partners is doing. If Venus is in the eighth, somewhat similar but more about shared finances and perhaps also some impulses to transform. How is that going for you? If it's in the ninth, it would be a reconnection with your deeper love of wisdom, philosophy, and any crazy ideas. If it's in the 10th, you might want to ask yourself, is your visible status and reputation still what you want? If it's in the 11th, you might want to go back over your internet connections to find your real tribe and also ask yourself, is a cull needed? If it's in the 12th house, you might want to reprocess your subconscious energies. This may be happening anyway without your knowledge, giving you very amazing dreams, but also complex ones that could inspire poetry or perhaps not. But also it's about feeling stuck in the house. How do you feel about self-isolation? Interesting things about Venus in Gemini is that Gemini is about communication, but I also think it's about the multifaceted self. And there was this trend recently, earlier this year, I think, for posting images, 4 images, all seen together on various social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Tinder. And it became extremely popular. You saw it all around social media. It became a big craze. Apparently, this was started by Dolly Parton, who doesn't have Venus in Gemini. Her Venus is in Virgo. But I do think the link is that Dolly Parton, the name Dolly, was given to the first cloned sheep based on a kind of duplicity or a double. So it's more than a double image, it's a quadruple image here. And you and my question here is looking at this is which one is doing her Venus, which one is doing her Saturn? And I think everyone got into this and some took it to an extreme and made it really funny by putting the same image of themselves in all 4, as if to say, what a joke, I'm the same, I'm not being inauthentic. So I think this is really interesting because it's about masks, and we see everyone wearing masks now at the moment. Even today, I heard that some criminals had a whole batch of masks that it contained cocaine. So masks are concealers, aren't they? They are not the authentic, and they are able to conceal the face, which makes it about multiple facets of the self, hiding. Maybe it's a survival instinct that we play these roles but it's just something to think about when Venus is in Gemini. So just a caveat, during this phase, there is one major transit that is very interesting, and that is Venus square Neptune. We see Neptune here riding the waves, and also this engraving called the Ship of Fools. And let's face it, Neptune is a little bit like being lost at sea. And the pandemic has thrown people into a whirl of truth and lies, with everybody considering different stories that are very often in conflict. At least Venus in Gemini might start to question where those sources are from. But Venus square Neptune traditionally is linked to disillusionment, or perhaps you've put people on a pedestal and that you realize once the illusion is stripped away, it could be a very painful realization that all you believed in and thought was authentic is no longer authentic, and that could be very difficult to handle. So I find the Venus archetype fascinating for all the positives, but also I would definitely encourage you to look at the negatives as well, and not to ignore the shadow side of Venus, which isn't to say this is bad so much as that it's all part of the same potpourri of Venus effects. Um, she's the queen of hot. She's the erotic. Um, we get our sexy groove on through Venus, so it's very important to know about that. But hotness can burn, and it brings us a lot of fun, but also trouble. I may mention here that the successful ITV show Love Island caught people's attention, but that it triggered a whole series of suicides, and some of the people, the contestants in that game, the Love Island, were unable to handle it once they were removed from the show. So there's a ruthlessness to Venus that is easy to underestimate. She did marry Hephaestus, who was apparently ugly, and then she proceeded to cheat on him, not caring whether her lovers were mortal or immortal even. So I like to see this other side and not to be deceived personally. So this image, which I can't find a source for, if anyone knows where this image is from, please let me know. But I think it reveals all the different elements of Venus, the coziness, the slyness, the strangeness, and the enigma. Uh, it's a complex image, but I think it best represents Venus in retrograde phase. So as I mentioned, I'm trying to do videos, but I encourage you to go to the written version, which is probably more complete. Um, and also I have the link there to play this wonderful track by Shocking Blue called Venus. Probably you know it, from 1969. And it's very relevant because it's a very groovy kind of song with a great riff. And the lead singer here was called Mariska Veres, who probably embodied her Venus in this song. And I'd like to pick out that just those lyrics where her weapons were her crystal eyes, making every man mad. Black as the dark night she was, got what no one else had. She's got it. So if you have a chance, just listen to that. It will definitely help you tune in to Venus, the funky, erotic Venus, not the traditional sweet and fluffy Venus. So thanks for listening in. It's a little bit rough, I know. I'm not really familiar with how to do these videos yet, the voiceovers. It's a little bit tricky. I hope to get better at it. But thanks for taking the time to get this far. And just so you know, I'm doing readings. You can just contact me at this address, www.proteusastrology.co.uk. Follow me on my Instagram, which is also Proteus Astrology. And just to mention that there is one upcoming event. I'm going to be talking about the Muse asteroids and how to see those in your chart for the Astrological Association conference, which had to be cancelled, but which will be online, and that's at the end of June. So look out for that, and thanks again.